on, girl, let's scream.
I am a god.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel. This is the part where you run.
Come on, scream.
Hello, and welcome to Let's Scream, a podcast where we dive into our favorite horror movies. I'm Stevie.
And I'm Parker. Today we are looking at 1988's Child's Play, directed by Tom Holland, not Spider-Man.
Not at all. Join us as we journey to Playland Toy Store and learn all about the good guy dolls. Are you ready to scream?
Oh, girl, I'm ready to scream.
Come on, girl. Let's scream. This movie, this is, I've always known Chucky, but the first time I've ever watched it was like this year. So now I'm seeing it twice. Because I watched it, and I was like, we should do this. And then I watched it again, and I was like, okay.
Okay, so...
It's fine. I know it's good. I like Child's Play.
It's classic, I think.
You said it's our first 80s horror movie, right?
Yeah, so...
I did not realize that.
It is our first 80s movie, so maybe we should, take a time machine back to the 80s. When it comes to horror, the 80s were kind of flashy. It was very, the spectacle of it all, and more, concept over actual quality.
Because some of the shots, or some of the stuff just doesn't really make sense.
It's all, I don't know, ostentatious. But that was the 80s. And the 80s, this movie is interesting because it came in a time where we had all these slasher movies. It was, Michael Myers movies and Jason movies and all this.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
And and Nightmare on Elm Street is like Child's Play in that it was more creative. It was still this kind of slasher thing, but it gave this really cool,
supernatural
creative
vibe.
Yeah, did a twist on it, and it gave us this great character. So that's the thing about the 80s, is that even though, a lot of the movies in the 80s rely heavily on cliches,
yes,
and you kind of don't like the characters, they're just, assholes usually.
Yeah.
And you have a silent killer that stalks them. But we have also these movies, like Child's Play, that give us campy villains to root for almost.
Yeah.
I guess in the first Child's Play, you're not really rooting for Chucky, but
no,
he is entertaining.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's always throwing in a pun here or there.
He
has his jokes.
Yeah, it's similar to how Freddy was in the first Nightmare.
Yeah.
Not over the top camp yet.
Yeah.
But just a hint at
witty.
where
A little witty.
Yeah. Had a witty little comeback. Angela from the Sleepaway Camp series is similar in that way. Very quippy dialogue.
Yes.
And that makes it fun, and it, I don't know.
It's a fun movie. No, it's definitely a fun one. For
the time it came out in, it was really inventive.
Yeah. And it's animatronic, right?
Yes, and that's the other thing, is that it doesn't rely on CG. It relies on really amazing puppetry and really amazing animatronic work.
Yeah.
And I'm such a little nerd for animatronics, but...
But aren't some shots of Chucky, isn't it? It has to be a person, right? Like a child or something?
It's like someone in a, I don't know, mascot costume, kind of.
Yeah.
For certain shots. But a lot of the close-up shots are this really impressive animatronic.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean more like the faraway shots where you see him running.
Yeah, him running. So you can definitely tell when they use a person, but
not in a bad way.
Yeah, I think it works.
Yeah.
Very well. I think it's very innovative with
Absolutely.
how it portrayed this
And
person.
I feel I feel like in this movie, I do like the characters in this movie.
Yeah, especially Andy.
Yeah. Oh, he's so cute.
We'll get into all of that, but I really think for the most part, it's a great movie. Now, this movie is very actually played seriously. It's kind of scary. It definitely scared me when I was a kid, because that's the first time that I was introduced to Chucky, is somebody was watching it on, and I happened to like walk into the room, and I was kind of too little for scary movies.
Yeah.
And it scared the shit out of me.
Okay, so for me, for Chucky, it was when I was visiting my grandparents. There was a point where we went to like breakfast somewhere, and the place had like, it was basically like a Cracker Barrel, but it wasn't a Cracker Barrel, but had like stuff up front where you could buy, and there was a claw machine, and there was a bunch of Chucky dolls in it, but like from like one of the more recent ones where his hair is like ripped up, he has like the staples, like the really scary one, and it terrified me.
Yeah,
So I was like scared of Chucky.
Well, from a kid's perspective, it's scarier because Chucky is the same size as you. And,
he's evil, and he was just scary. I was afraid that I didn't even know the plot of the movies, but I kind of got it right away, and I was like,
right.
oh, he's
well,
like
the main character is this little boy that is like that Chucky is like antagonizing, basically. Yeah. So I was, you associate this movie as being kind of scary, and it's funny to think about how camp the sequels went.
Yes.
Child's Play 2, I've seen.
That's
seen
like such a
some of them.
That's so weird because I feel like that's just like a thing that happens with a lot of 80s movies.
Yeah.
The like sequels go camp.
Yeah, that's what Nightmare did. That's what Sleepaway Camp did.
Like they just go the more camp route.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday the 13th still, even though they're like still like pretty like gory and graphic,
they're
camp.
So campy. Oh yeah,
they're so campy.
My favorite, for the record, my favorite Friday the 13th is Part 5, A New Beginning.
I see. The only one I really remember is, I know the first one is like, it's not Freddy, but
or Jason.
Sorry, Jason. Oh my god. But I know like I think it's the third one where there's like a kid in a wheelchair. And he like swings at him, and he just goes
down the stairs backwards.
Yeah, and like flying through the woods. Like that's the one I remember.
Really like just the spectacle of like, the drama of this crazy death, and there's like all these. There's always big explosions and like cartoony almost.
Yes,
that's how this era of horror movies feels like to me. Anyway, it's cool how this movie kind of like sparked this like killer doll.
Yes.
Genre,
like evil doll,
subgenre.
the evil object kind of
the
thing.
boy.
The evil toy. The boy. Which we've already done. Yeah. It is a great fucking movie.
Megan.
And if you have not listened to that podcast, please go listen to that one.
That's one of my favorite episodes. Yeah.
That one was a fun one.
That's a must watch for Let's Scream. You have to watch our The Boy episode. Because we have such a crush on Brahms. Anyway, and it's also, what I was going to say is, the sequels, they get pretty camp. Like, Child's Play 2 is played pretty seriously.
Yes.
It's pretty scary. I like it. It feels like a good continuation of the first one.
Yeah.
And then Child's Play 3 is a snooze fest. And then they were like, let's do Bride of Chucky. And by that point, they were like, we gotta camp this up.
We're kind of out of ideas, so we're just going with it.
So that's when they bring in Jennifer Tilly, which, iconic.
Yes.
As Tiffany, obviously. But yeah, it's cool to revisit this first movie and remember just like how truly like tense and scary it is. It really does a good job of keeping you on your toes during certain sequences, which we'll get into. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's a big highlight of this movie for me. And I feel like the sequels kind of lost that along the way. They just got more and more outrageous. Mm. But we can go ahead and get into it now, I guess. If you're ready to hop into the story.
All right.
So at this point, we're going to be getting into the overall plot, and we're going to be discussing spoilers for Child's Play, which if you haven't seen, I feel like, where you been living? Like, under a rock, possibly?
Tubi.
Yeah, it was on Tubi, so
It's,
go give it a watch. Or maybe you're familiar with the sequels and you've never seen this, like, more stripped down OG version.
Yeah.
Definitely, this is probably my favorite movie from the Chucky series, so I would recommend it.
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right, we'll go ahead and get into it, and we start off, immediately we're thrown into this, like, kind of action chase sequence.
Yes.
On the streets of Chicago in the 80s, like late at night.
Yep.
It's very 80s. Like, that's a great thing about this movie is that it really makes you feel like you are in that decade.
The hair, the shoulder pads.
We'll get into the shoulder. There's a particular character who I said, oh my God, those shoulder pads.
Oh, wait, I have to go put on my shoulder pads.
Yeah, exactly. We'll get into that character. But, yeah, we're seeing this cop guy chasing down this guy with long, scraggly black hair. And this guy's getaway driver, apparently, his name is Eddie, leaves him behind. Leaves him in the dirt.
Asshole.
And the dude with the long hair, this is Charles Lee Ray, a serial killer who has very Jersey accent. And he's yelling after Eddie, and he's like, Eddie, what the hell, man? I can't do his voice. I'm not good at, like, that kind of, like, Jersey accent. I don't know. That's kind of Chucky's voice. We don't know it's Chucky yet, but... Anywho.
We have some strong suspicions, though, that it is.
Yeah, I mean, his name is Charles, so we can...
Pretty easy connection.
Yeah. And then we see the cop, who I wrote looks like handsome Squidward, first of all. So, and in my notes, I just called him Squidward, like, because I couldn't remember his name. I think maybe Mike or something, but...
Detective Mike Norris.
But anyway, he's Squidward, and he has that kind of, like, he kind of gives me nothing, like, to be honest, like, sorry to this man, but I don't love the performance of the cop. And he's chasing Charles, and he kind of pursues him into this toy store.
Toyland.
So yeah,
Toys.
And we see all these good guy dolls on display. How would you describe the good guy doll to someone who's never heard of Chucky before?
So it's kind of like a Cabbage Patch Kid with a really bad orange bang and like bowl cut.
Yeah, it's a bowl cut. Yeah.
And they kind of just like, but they're also like 3 feet tall.
Yeah.
And he's wearing these little overalls. With a little striped shirt and some little red shoes.
Yeah.
And he just kind of is a little creepy looking.
And big, bright blue eyes that are like, and it's like...
Just staring at you.
Yeah. I think there's like I remember hearing about this like psychological study about like how the human brain is conditioned to react like scared or anxiously to seeing
blue eyes.
Big, not blue eyes, but eyes that are like wide, where your eyelid kind of comes out over your the iris of your eye, and it kind of triggers a reaction in you that it's kind of that uncanniness.
Yes.
So I think that, I mean, it's a great doll design. Very creepy and iconic.
Well, I think that's like a human... As weird as it says, it's like a human nature thing. It's like...
Yeah.
Because I remember our good friend Ryan, she was like telling me, like, it's like a human reaction to, like, being uncomfortable with things that are, like almost human-like, but not quite. It's why, like, some people, like, have you ever seen the Polar Express movie?
Right, no,
like, some people are very uncomfortable. It's like some video games, you know, where it's, like, too realistic, where it's kind of, like...
mocap stuff.
But it's, like, oh, this is weird, because it's, like, everything's also too perfect.
Exactly.
So it's, like, very unsettling.
Oh, yeah. That's the like Polar Express. Reaction. I can't even get through that movie.
It's why there's no longer Neanderthals, because humans killed them off. Like, people killed them off.
What?
Because they were, like, human-like, yeah.
Damn.
We're not the same species.
Oh, that's interesting. I guess I don't know enough about Neanderthals. I might need to, learn more about that. But there's all these good guy dolls. They're on display at the front of the shop. And Handsome Squidward shoots Charles through the shelving units. And the gunshot noises are insane.
All of them are different noises. Every single shot. But also, they only have 6 gauge, like, bullets. Like, they are not 6 gauge. They only have 6,
like the revolvers? Or
whatever? They only have 6 slots. That's 6 gauge, right? Isn't that what I mean?
I think so. I don't know.
Whatever the fuck. You can only shoot 6 bullets.
Yeah.
They never once reload it, but they're definitely shooting more than 6 bullets each.
Infinite ammo, like on GTA when you got the infinite ammo cheat.
Pew, pew. But then, like, all the noises are
cartoony, like, pew, 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 like Star Wars guns.
Yeah, but then there's also, like, one's, like, the, like, old Western, like, cowboy shot.
Yeah. Exactly.
like none of them are the same sound.
Kind of almost sounds like a cannon, like an old school cannon too.
So it's like, okay, sound design, not quite there.
not the gun sound. I do think there's some cool sound stuff in this movie, but the gunshots
score.
I think are just like, it must be like an older movie thing, like 80s, 70s movies. They always had that cartoony gunshot effect.
Yeah.
Kind of takes me out of it a bit. But yeah, Charles is standing there and he's like, oh shit, I'm dying. And he yells out, you hear me, you son of a bitch? I'm gonna get you and I'm gonna get Eddie, no matter what.
What? And then he falls over.
And he's like, I gotta find somebody. I gotta find somebody.
I gotta find somebody.
Yeah.
When we were watching it, you said something funny. You were like, don't we all?
I was like, I hear you.
I hear you, baby. I hear you.
Get in line, honey.
I get it.
Uh-huh. And he kind of collapses against a giant pile of good guy dolls. And this is when we were like laughing because the cop is like, hears all this like noise.
Like, it's loud as fuck, the crashing. And the cop is just looking around like,
with his gun out, like blank face, like head empty,
but
no
like
thoughts.
slightly reacting like, did I hear something?
With
it's
his,
like, bitch.
Yeah, his
like I
handsome
said last
Squidward
week,
face.
even deaf people were like, what's that?
Yeah, he literally like, yeah, he cannot hear shit because he's like just frozen, doing nothing while Charles grabs a good guy doll and begins chanting this incantation.
It's some voodoo magic.
Mm-hmm. And he says, give me the power, I beg of you. And there is a cartoonish like thunder and lightning bolt storm.
And like the cop is like walking, like here's all of this yelling. He's like, what's happening?
Yeah, and
What's
like the
going on?
cartoon storm forms in the sky and he just stares at it with his handsome Squidward face. Like, what's that? With his gun, just like chilling.
Then a lightning bolt
strikes
through the glass ceiling. It broke the glass ceiling because it's a feminist.
Exactly.
Chucky is a feminist, let it be known.
Right, and there's proof right there.
And supports trans rights.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we know Tiffany does, because it's Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah. Well, Chucky
She's
has
an
a trans
ally.
child in the
She's an
sequels.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too.
Yep. Or in the TV show?
It's very LGBTQ. That's the other thing about the Chucky series, is that it's pretty queer.
Yeah.
We should dive into the sequels, I think. It'd be fun. at some
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the lightning bolt,
and
it causes a huge
the
explosion.
biggest explosion.
The most insane,
But
chaotic
the funniest
explosion.
thing about it is, after this giant ass over-the-top explosion that blows up the entire toy store,
For no reason.
the cop is completely, like, not, like, burnt or
Right.
unscathed, basically.
He's
just
still
got, like-
standing there with that blank face.
And then he sees Charles, who's, like, dead at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He is completely unscathed. He's just dead.
Yeah.
But he's not, like, burnt to a crisp after getting
No.
shot with fucking lightning.
Right. He only died from, like, the gunshot wound, basically. But then the camera zooms in on the good guy doll that's lying next to Charles's body. Then we cut to the apartment of Andy, who is a adorable little boy. This actor is so cute in this, because he's like, I think they literally cast someone who is exactly that age, which they usually cast the age up a little bit in the casting.
Because it's easier to work with.
Yeah. But I think, because Andy's supposed to be 6 years old, and I think that
He is. He's turning...
it's his 6th birthday, right? Yeah.
He was born in 81.
Mm-hmm.
So the actor would have been 6 or 7.
Right. Which normally, yeah, you'd age up, but because he's just the right age, he has all this earnesty. You can tell that, like, he's, I don't know what it is about it, but he feels...
He's adorable.
He's adorable, and he feels more like a realistic depiction of how children are really like.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of movies, it's like, kids are like these weird, like, all-knowing... like, you get that, like, the whiz kid cliche in all these movies.
Yes.
Which
he
it feels
like
so
innocent.
phoned
He
in.
reminds me, like, watching it, I was like, yeah, this is probably how I was as a kid, more.
Yeah, it's not in that, like, canned way. It's very earnest. And it's so cute to watch him as he prepares breakfast. And
The Good Guys is on. his favorite
Yeah.
TV show. So we
Favorite
learned that The Good Guys is like a TV show, so it's just a really thing that's like popular with kids.
Yeah.
I think he's wearing Good Guys pajamas.
He's wearing, which the good guy, it's the doll. It's the exact same outfit that the doll is wearing, but in like pajama form.
And he has little Good Guy slippers.
Uh-huh.
That look like the shoes that they wear. And the episode's playing, and he's like, oh, I've seen this episode already.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
he's like,
didn't you hate that as a kid?
Yeah,
It was like an
reruns.
episode where it was like, you've seen a million times. You're like, I just don't want to watch this one.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes back to making breakfast. And
He is
well, as soon as he notices, because he put toast in before he noticed
Oh,
that
yeah.
the TV show was like on, and there was an old episode. And so then he goes back in the kitchen, and the toast is smoking up.
Yeah.
It's burnt to
It's
fucking crisp.
charred black toast.
And
He could,
I was like, oh, that toast is a little burnt.
then he dollops the most gigantic thing
Scoop
of margarine or like
butter
country crock butter.
onto that
Burnt ass
burnt
toast.
toast.
Then the
pours
cereal
the most amount of cereal.
and the amount of
Oh my god!
sugar,
Pours
powdered
in way
sugar.
too much milk, and then just 3 giant
Yeah.
full spoon scoops of sugar.
I thought, oh my!
I was like,
God.
oh.
We were watching this. We kept going, oh.
Oh, that's a little too much. No, that's good. That's good. No,
Here, let me just.
no,
Good job.
Oh, you're doing so good, sweetie, but I can do it for you.
It's so cute. And then we see a little bit more of the Good Guy commercial for the dolls, and we kind of learn the lore is like that there's this kid, like the main character on the Good Guy show, kind of looks like Andy a little bit. I
Yeah.
think he's probably animated to be like reminiscent of Andy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sad and like lonely and I need a friend. And then the good guy comes down on a like jet or something and is like, I'm so-and-so. And they all have different names. Like I think the one in the commercial's name was Oscar.
Yeah.
But he was like, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi-ho. And he basically becomes the best friend of this like sad, lonely kid. So
Yeah.
I can see how it would be very relatable to Andy.
And is this when we see yes, and so Andy's carrying the dishes, and then the commercial comes on for the Good Guy doll, which we saw at the toy store.
And we see it in a box, and then we see Andy's birthday presents. He kind of looks over at where his mom has his presents laid out, and one of the boxes wrapped up looks about like the same
It's
size.
a big box. So keep in mind, it's like a 3-foot doll, probably.
And it looks just
And
like
it's
a box
huge.
that
So
doll would
it's a
come in.
big box.
It
Please
is.
keep in mind that it is a big
box.
big box.
Oh, and then we also see in the commercial that the doll says, we even turn our heads and blink our eyes when you talk to us. And we see a demonstration of this, and Andy's like, wow. And
I remember that feeling as a kid when you watched a commercial that just sold you.
yeah.
Remember, you're like, I
need
that.
it. Yeah.
I need that.
I need that. And then he goes and he puts all the food on the tray, and as he's walking down the hallway, he's spilling milk and more orange juice all over the floor. And he goes into his mom's room and he sits it on like a tray in front of her and like displays it. And it's like, I made you breakfast in bed. And we meet his mom, Karen.
And she is tired because she
She's-
woke her
yeah.
up at
6:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. And I said, no, this is exactly why I'm not having fucking kids, okay?
Yeah.
Because absolutely the fuck not.
6:30? But she was very happy to see the breakfast.
Yeah, and she, like, you know, even though it's like a disaster of a breakfast.
She's like, you know what? I'm going to eat this later.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. And he's like, okay.
And she's a really cute mom, and they're cute, and she clearly loves her little kid.
Yes. And
she does that thing where you blow raspberries on their little belly.
Yep.
It's so cute. Kind of make them laugh.
Yep. And she tells him happy birthday.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
she goes and she wants to give him his birthday presents. And he opens...
Has a big one and a small one.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, don't you want to open the small one first? And he's like, I want that big
Yeah.
one. Give me that big one. She's like, okay.
So
And
she
remember,
gets that-
everyone, it is a
very
big
big
box.
box.
It is big. Like, you know,
What's in the box, Stevie? What did she put in this big ass box?
Single fucking pair of jeans.
Jeans.
And she's like, oh, I think they'll fit you perfectly. We'll just have to take them up a few inches. And he is
He's
pissed.
It reminds me of that. I think it was a Vine where it's like that little kid being like, "Oh, an avocado, thanks."
No, because that kid kind of saw Andy was pissed.
Oh yeah,
and she knew.
she knew.
She's like, let me guess, you want some toys? And he's like, yes, I do. And she's like, okay, well, open your small one. Which I'm like, that small one ain't gonna be a good guy, so this better be fucking good. And it's a good guy's tool set.
So yeah, it's like an accessory to go with a good guy.
And he's like, okay.
It's like, I bought you Barbie shoes, but not a Barbie. It's like, what the fuck? Am I supposed to put these shoes up my ass? Like, what do you want me to do with this?
Thanks.
Oh.
And he's like, I want a good guy.
Yeah, and she's like, I know, but I didn't find out about the good guy in time to save up. And that's when...
I kind of call bullshit, because I'm like, but she knew about the good guy tool set.
Well, maybe that was like less expensive, so she could like kind of get the tool set.
Okay.
But what she should have done, I think, and this is where I think lying to children is very important. You just say, the good guy is on his way. He got stuck in the mail or something, and you like, or, you know,
he's on his way. He just had to help out a few people before he got here.
Yeah, he's coming from the North Pole from Santa, and Santa's just a little late this year. So, you know what I mean?
Santa said he would come early this year. So
it's bullshitting, okay? And it works. And it would have made this kid a lot happier because...
But no, she's like, no, I couldn't afford it. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. He's just bummed. And then we see Karen at her job in the department store.
She works the jewelry counter. I'm like, okay, it's the 80s department stores were very popular.
Huge.
They, everyone loved to go because it's like, let's go to the department store. You could get everything. You could get bedding. You could get jewelry. You could get perfume.
Huge,
makeup.
Huge cart.
Clothes. Everything you needed. Sometimes toys.
She works retail. Did you relate to this, like, because you've worked retail?
I've worked retail a bit, but like not as like, I've never worked in a department store. So.
Right. That's a different beast, I feel like.
Yes. I've always worked in just like clothing stores.
And then we meet her bestie, Maggie, who is a very like tough chewing, like she has a Brooklyn accent too. And
even though they're in Chicago.
Well, that's kind of, it's a similar accent, I guess. I don't know. Chicagoans kind of have a little bit of that. But
hey.
Yeah, I don't know. And she says there's a peddler out in the alleyway behind the department store, and he has
one of those good guy dolls she's been looking for.
And you better come. Hurry.
Well, I can't leave the counter.
Do you want this doll or not?
I gotta go see if it's the real one. She's like, and then they go.
Down.
She's like, okay, I'm gonna go, whatever. And they go, and then it's this just homeless dude with just fucked up teeth.
Yeah.
With a shopping cart full of shit. And right on top is that good guy doll box. Which was right in the vicinity of that explosion. Unscathed, perfect condition. Right. Same with the doll on the inside, just fine. Right. It's okay.
Sure.
After a giant explosion. And then Maggie's like, well, is that the doll? And I'm like, well, first of all, the box literally says good guy. The pictures on the box look like the doll. Why are you like confused on if it's a good guy or not?
But she's like, we don't even know if the damn thing works. Which, good point.
Yeah, but it's also, who gives a shit?
True. I mean, like, I'm sure Andy... But that is, like, a big aspect of the doll.
Yeah.
That's the sell, is that it has to work.
But we know it's gonna work.
Right.
I was like, it works, baby. Don't worry, girl. Don't worry.
Yeah, you'll find out if it works or not.
And then the guy, the homeless, she's like, Maggie, or Karen's like, how much you want for it? He's like, 50. Maggie goes 10.
Mm-hmm. She tries to like wine and dine
him. And he goes 30. And she's like, Karen's like, perfect. That's perfect.
Yes. I'll take it. Oh, it's perfect.
So she gets the good guy doll.
The guy, and Maggie goes, she looks back at the guy and she's like, I think I dated that guy. She's funny.
And then we get back to the counter, and
her boss,
her manager, is his name Walter or something?
That sounds about right. He looks like
Walter or something. And he is pissed.
Yep.
And I know him from something.
Well, you know what he reminds me of? I don't think it's the guy.
It's Alan Wilder?
Oh, yeah.
What else is he in?
He can't be the guy from High School Musical 2 that runs the country club.
No, he's not.
But he gives that energy.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you know, you know. But it's like kind of like, and he has like Tim Gunn voice. He's like, oh.
Okay, I guess I don't know what he just seems like he was in other stuff. Oh, he's in A League of Their Own. Oh my God, he's Nelson, who Marla Hooch is singing to and gets married to.
Oh my God, that's right.
That's literally who it is.
Oh my God.
And
you know who else was in A League of Their Own? Madonna! So he's like one separation away from Madonna.
Oh my God, that's insane.
And he has like Tim Gunn voice, and he's like, oh, and he's like an a-hole. Like,
yeah, he's like, did you leave? Do you care about your job, Karen?
Oh, really?
And he's like, shouldn't. He's getting pissy with them because she left. He's like, enjoy your break, ladies.
Yeah, he's smarmy. And
Maggie's like, hey, keep your pants on.
yeah, because she's
We're
like,
getting a toy for its birthday.
it's her little kid's birthday. Cut him some slack. Like she'll go to bat for you. Like she's a good friend.
And he's like, we have designated times for those breaks.
And he says, and I need you to watch the counter of the night shift.
Because Jessica or
whoever got diarrhea or something. I don't know.
She can't come in. She gets to call off, and like Karen's like, I can't. It's my son's birthday, and he's like, do you care about your job?
He's like, I don't give a fucking flying.
He's like threatening to like fire her, and I'm like, if it's outside her schedule,
right? Like,
you can't just force her to work. It's not how jobs
pretty sure
work.
that's illegal. I don't know. It was the 80s though, girl. I don't know.
But retail, that's so crazy.
I don't
But
know.
maybe you're right. I don't know.
It was the 80s, girl. Everyone was on cocaine.
It's true.
And anyway, Maggie says that she will watch Andy for Karen while she goes and works the night shift. She's a good Judy for that.
And she's like, oh, will you really?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Karen's always like, every time she talks, she's like shaking her little bob.
Yeah, right.
She's like,
oh, it's good.
It's like a bob.
She kind of gives a little, I don't know why, maybe she doesn't. I want to say like a little Judy Garland energy when is that like, I mean,
I kind of get what you're saying. I know what you mean.
I
know what you mean.
But that kind of like, I'm just tantalized. You know what I mean? But she's great. Like, she sells the shit out of this role. I'll get into some of her acting later in the movie. Catherine Hicks. She goes home and she surprises Andy with a good guy doll. And he is so excited. He thanks her very graciously.
For anyone, also Catherine Hicks, sorry, I just had to look this up. She is the mom in Seventh Heaven.
Oh, that ended up being like her like huge thing. Yeah.
Which is an insane show in all forms.
I've never seen Seventh Heaven.
Super Christian family, but it's just like wild.
Oh, okay.
But not in like a good way.
The more you know. Yeah, she does a good job in this movie. But she goes home and she surprises Andy with a good guy doll. Yay! And he is so excited.
Well, she's like, has the box, and she's like, hey, you want to know something? It's not groceries. Do you want to open it? And he's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he does, and yep, it's the good guy doll. And it's like so excited. He's so excited. She's like, show me how it works.
And he's like, thank you so much. He thanks her very graciously.
Yes.
And he says, hi, I'm Andy. What's
your
name?
He gets in Chucky's face. I'd like, because I mean, he's a little kid, but he yells at. He's like, "Hi, my name's Andy. What's yours?"
And the doll activates, and it introduces himself as Chucky. Yeah. That evening, we see Andy playing with Chucky in front of the TV while Karen is babysitting him. Not Karen. Maggie is babysitting.
Yes.
On the TV, a breaking news story comes on talking about the escaped criminal, Charles Lee Ray, and his accomplice, Eddie, who escaped the police, apparently. During this report, Chucky's head swivels over towards the TV.
She's like, what's going on?
She's like, what was that?
Maggie then, like, she's in the kitchen, but she yells from the kitchen to Andy, it's time for bed.
Mm-hmm. And Andy notices that Chucky's...
He's like, okay.
Facing the other way. And he goes, hey, Chucky, you're not watching me. And Chucky's head, like, swivels back. And it, like, repeats a catchphrase. It's like, I'm Chucky. Everything's fine.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Andy goes up to Maggie, and he goes... Aunt Maggie, Chucky wants to watch the 9 o'clock news. And Maggie's like, okay, time to go to bed.
Like she's like,
"Alright,
she
kid."
like thinks he's like a little kid, like trying to stay up late.
Yeah.
Oh no, and she's like, oh, I'm sure he did. So she picks up Andy.
And she
But
picks
she
up.
snatches Chucky by the arm.
Yeah.
Just tugging his arm.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just dragging him on
Just
the floor.
haphazardly. And she takes it to Andy's room, and then she tells Andy to go brush your teeth. And she's putting away the dishes, and then she goes, Andy, you brushing your teeth? And he goes, yes, Aunt Maggie. And he has a mouthful of, like, the most toothpaste I've ever seen. He's, like, spitting it up all over the mirror. Like,
But you know what? Good for him for brushing his teeth twice
it's
a day.
cute. Again, like, he's feels to me like a realistic kid.
Little kid.
Yeah.
And then Maggie's just still in the kitchen, and all of a sudden, she hears the TV.
She gets jump scared by that TV turning on. And she discovers the doll
Sitting in the chair,
right in front of the
watching the
TV.
and she just kind of stops and looks and is like,
She's like, Andy, are you fucking with me? And she goes in and she gets shitty with Andy. And she's blaming him for the TV coming on. And,
yeah, and he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And she's like, you
Like,
turned on
what?
the TV and you
Yeah.
put Chucky in front of the TV. And he's like, I didn't do that.
yeah, he was like, what the fuck?
I swear I didn't do that. And she's
Wasn't
like,
me.
and she tucks him and Andy into bed.
She's like, no more, games.
Yeah,
Go
time
to
for
bed. Yeah. Go to bed, Wick. She leaves the bedroom. And she also does like a double take, like just to make sure he's not getting up behind her.
Yeah.
And after she leaves, Andy turns to Chucky with her lying in bed and goes, I told you should be mad at you if you watch the news. And we get another creepy zoom on the doll.
Yes.
That night, Maggie is on the couch, just reading. And we see the POV of maybe Andy? Who was also, again, dressed up just like the doll in that same pajama set. And this person sneaks out of the bedroom and down the hall and grabs a chair from the dining room. And, like, it's that little, like, pitter-patter feet.
You, like, see him run past and, like, Maggie's reading a book on the couch and she, like, turns and is like,
Oh, what the fuck was that? And she goes to investigate and finds the chair propped up against the front door of the apartment. I noted that Aunt Maggie is wearing a cardigan, and even that cardigan has shoulder pads. Aunt Maggie is featuring lots of shoulder pads.
She is the queen of shoulder pads in this movie.
And then she hears a banging sound from the kitchen, and she goes to discover powdered sugar poured out all over the floor. And I said, Maggie is just absolutely winning the I don't give a fuck war. And when she says, how did that happen? Absolutely no concern in her voice whatsoever. And then Karen calls to check on her, and it kind of jump scares her.
She gets jump scared by the telephone ringing.
And yeah, Karen's like, is everything okay? And Maggie's like, oh,
I'm fine.
Everything's fine. She's like, I got a case of the Alone at Night willies. And she, hangs up on that convo, and we see a point of view of someone grab, like, the toy hammer
from the good guys. But that looks like a pretty real hammer.
Yeah. It must have to have some, like, weight to it, right?
God damn.
Because Maggie is kind of sweeping up the powdered sugar off the floor.
And she stands up.
She thinks someone might be hiding behind potted plant. And she goes to see what's behind it. And nothing's there. And she's like, what's the matter with me? I'm scaring myself half to death. And then without missing a beat, she turns around and she is bludgeoned in the head with that little
it's
toy
like
hammer.
hits her right in the eye. And she's like, And she stumbles back 10 feet.
Yeah, right.
And then somehow crashes
It's
through.
the same level of drama as an Indian soap opera. When they get, like, lightly tapped on the shoulder and they, like, start, like,
and then
rolling
they tumble
around.
into a car and, like, roll on the side
And then, like,
of the car.
starts the one where she, like, wraps herself into the curtain and starts choking herself by accident. It's kind of that, because she, like crashes out the fucking window.
Which I'm like, how thin is that glass?
Yeah, what kind of glass is that? Well, that's every movie where it's like they just crash through, like,
some
windows.
of them, it's like they're doing some force. I'm like, girl, you would just stumble back. Like,
yeah.
but she, like, it's like she got fucking, like, it's like I can't explain it.
Like, she got shot with a cannon or, like, a bazooka or something.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, we see her, like, fall in slow motion.
And she's like, ah! And she crashes into a car. The roof of a car. And
Which, can you imagine be like the Postmates guy coming back to your car and like you just see like, what happened to my car?
The actress who played Maggie has a Tony Award.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
For I Ought to Be in Pictures.
Good for her. What's her name?
Dinah Manoff.
Dinah.
She was also in Grease.
Who is she in Grease?
Marty.
That's
Maraschino.
right. It's Marty Maraschino. Wait,
Marty Maraschino.
it is. The like kind of like slutty like bestie of Rizzo.
I don't really know Grace. I don't like
you
Grace.
don't?
I don't like Grace.
Oh well, she's iconic. She's like one of my favorite pink ladies for sure. And yeah, so R.I.P. Maggie, diva down.
Diva down. And
Diva
Karen
down.
comes to the police having taped off the area.
Yeah, she's freaking out. And they're like, ma'am, you can't come in here. She's like, I live here.
And they're like, okay.
And she makes her way in past all these people. And yeah, there's like, you know, investigation going on.
Yep.
And they're doing like, you know, a full like sweep down of the place. And we see, thankfully, Andy is okay. He's being questioned by the police in his bedroom. And Chucky is chilling there, of course. And
Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah,
he lives
exactly.
there. It's his house, too.
Yeah. We see, again, handsome Squidward.
Yes. Detective Mike Norris.
Yes, he introduces himself as Detective Mike Norris, homicide. And he tells Karen that Maggie died. And that, I also wrote that the actress playing Karen sells a very good performance here in this scene, receiving this news. And then he shows her the powdered sugar all over the floor.
And there's a footprint.
Yeah. And it's a footprint that has little, like...
Good guy. It doesn't have, like, the Good Guys logo.
A Good Guys logo. And then it has, like, the little, like, icons from the tool set. So, like, a hammer, a cowboy hat, and stuff like that. But so it's a very, like, unique footprint.
Yes.
He kind of implies that it was Andy who did it, or who was involved with it somehow. And Andy comes out and is like, Mommy, Chucky wanted to know what was going on. And Squidward's like, well, can I see the bottoms of your shoes, Andy? And Andy shows him, and it's the same pattern
on the Good Guys slippers.
And Karen's pissed because she's like, my son is just stressed the fuck out. Like, leave him alone. We've all had a shitty ass day. Get the fuck out, basically.
Yeah.
And she puts it more politely than that, but you know.
But she's like, please leave.
Yeah.
Like, get out of my house.
Exactly. But he agrees to clear everybody out, which I also thought that would never happen, but okay. Like, couldn't you be able to like tamper with evidence if like you just cleared everybody out of the crime scene? But and Andy is in bed talking to Chucky and notices sugar on the bottoms of Chucky's shoes. And he runs out there to tell his mom, but Squidward's still standing there lingering, and he tells Squidward that Chucky was the one in the kitchen earlier. And Squidward is like, I want to stay, but Karen eventually just kicks his ass out.
Yeah.
And Squidward goes and tells the other cops, and he has like a partner who has that like mustache guy.
Yes.
And he tells him to...
Jack Santos.
Okay, Jack. He tells Jack to go and have the toy hammer sent to the lab, ruling it as a possible murder weapon. Karen overhears Andy talking to Chucky in his room, and she goes to check on him. And she's like, Andy, who are you talking to? And he's like, Chucky. And he says Chucky has been saying all kinds of things. And he spills some really piping hot tea. He says, Chucky says his real name is Charles Lee Ray. Okay. And he says he's been sent down from heaven by Daddy to play with me. And that's kind of when we first learn like what happened to the dad.
Yeah.
He obviously passed away.
Yeah.
And so kind of creepy that Chucky is like playing off of this poor young boy's like
trauma.
Yeah, pretty much. Then he really gags Karen when he says that Chucky says that Aunt Maggie was a real bitch and she got what she deserved.
And Karen's like, don't you ever say that.
She flips out. She's like, why the fuck would you say that?
Well,
and
he's like, I didn't say it, Chucky did.
Yeah. And she starts yelling at him and he says, are you yelling at me because of Aunt Maggie? And she kind of like calms herself down and she's like, you're right. It's been a long day, honey. I'm sorry. And And he's like, I'm sorry, Mommy, I won't make up any stories anymore. And it kind of eases her concern. And she ends up going to bed. And the next day, we see Karen dropping Andy off at school. And we see that Andy is not the only kid who has a good guy doll. And I'm pretty sure every fucking, like, kid extra in the background is holding a good guy doll on their way into school, which I thought was, like, a cool detail.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, the number one toy.
No, he's like, me too, bitches.
Right. He's looking fly. Yeah.
Oh, how old's yours? You've had it for 3 weeks? Yeah, mine's brand new. So, fresh out the box.
Mm-hmm. Got it from a peddler in an alleyway.
So, $30. How much did you pay for yours? Way too much, I'm guessing.
I suppose, yes. So, and then, Karen, she drops them off. She leaves. And then we see Andy, carrying Chucky, of course, sneak back out the front door of the school and starts walking down the street into the snowy city. We see, like, this montage of him taking Chucky on the train, going downtown.
Everything's waiting for you downtown.
They arrive outside this, like, crack house in this sketchy-ass area. And
they're in, like, a dump. Well, they're kind of, like, in a junkyard in front of, like, this house. And
right.
Andy sets Chucky down on a chair.
Yeah, because he has to go tinkle. And he says, he's like, I have to tinkle. And then we see from Chucky's point of view, him get up and run right up to the house. And this is where we see Eddie.
Well, first of all, this house filled with rats. Every square inch is just rats.
Yeah.
It's a dump.
And you know it had roaches too.
Roaches. Roaches!
Roaches!
Yep. This is where we see that Eddie, Charles Lee Ray's getaway driver from earlier, this is where he's been hiding out.
Yeah.
And Eddie hears banging noises from the kitchen. And we see little doll hands turning on the gas on the oven.
Like, turning off, like, blowing out, like, the pilot light or, like, just the light so you can't tell that the gas stove is on.
And Eddie gets his gun and goes downstairs and impulsively just starts shooting around inside.
Yeah.
And he opens the kitchen door and immediately starts shooting, and he shoots into that, like, with that open oven with the gas, and just causes another, like, ridiculously over-the-top
Explosion.
cartoon explosion. And then Karen is called into the police station, where Squidward tells her that they found Andy outside the explosion, where, like, that Eddie's house or whatever. And Andy, along with Chucky, of course, is being questioned. And Andy is very frustrated that Chucky won't, like, say anything in front of the adults. And it makes it look like Andy did everything.
Yeah. He's, like, telling them, he's doing this on purpose. That's why he's not saying anything.
And he's like, say something, Chucky, say something. And when Chucky doesn't say anything, he gets pissed and he, like, punches Chucky in the stomach really hard, which I thought was funny. And he's like, Mommy is doing it on purpose because he told me never to tell you about him or he'd kill me. And it's just not a good look.
Yeah.
You know? And some guy from the county general, like, orders that Andy spend a few days with them.
Yeah.
Like,
Dr. Ardmore.
And Karen is just, like, defeated, and she goes home, and she has Chucky in hand. She takes the doll with her, and she's just frustrated, and she's trying to reconcile with the fact that maybe her little kid could have done all this crazy shit. And she starts yelling at the doll, and she's like, say something, you little bastard. Say something, god damn it. And Chucky just gives an automated catchphrase.
Yeah. He's like, I'm Chucky and I like hugs.
Yeah. I'm Chucky and I love poppers.
Me too, Chucky. Me too.
And she's kind of like, huh, that's just a doll, of course. Then we get my favorite part in the movie. Well, one of my favorite parts.
This is a great, like, scare sequence.
Yeah, this is such a good part. She picks up the box that the doll came in, and the batteries fall out. And they're Good Guy branded batteries.
Yes.
So.
And they're giant, like, double D battery. Not double D. Oh, my God.
Double A or...
No, they're like the...
Triple D or what the fuck is
What
that?
the big ones? The D batteries?
D batteries.
D batteries?
Yeah.
They're huge, but they're Good Guy branded. Because Good Guy just has a grip on every brick,
all
all types of merchandise.
manufacturing.
They got clothes, they got shoes, they got
everything.
tools.
Yeah.
That are strong enough to kill people.
Mm-hmm.
They got dolls, and now they got batteries. And she goes to, like, check the doll, and she opens it up, right?
Yeah, she finds that the batteries fell out, which kind of reveals, like...
He's been saying all this stuff with no batteries.
And she's like, well, maybe they were, like, installed initially. Like, maybe there's, like, a backup pair that's already built into the doll when you get it. And so she goes, and she it's very tense, very kind of suspenseful scene of her going to check the battery pack on the back of the doll.
Yeah.
And it is empty. And immediately the doll's head turns around in like a 360 and goes, "Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?" And it freaks the shit out of her, and she throws the doll, and the doll kind of rolls underneath the couch. And it's very suspenseful as she goes down and looks under the couch, and the doll's just laying there still. And then she goes up and she's like very slowly to kind of touch it and like tap on it. But it doesn't move. And so she picks it back up again, and she gets again frustrated that he won't talk or do anything. And she goes, "You better say something. And if you don't, I'll make you talk." And then she goes to the fireplace and starts a fire and threatens to throw him in. And this is when...
She says, "This is a meme, too."
You're right. It is, yeah.
And she's like, "Talk! Damn it! Talk, goddammit! I'm gonna throw you in the fire!" And then he goes, "You stupid bitch!
You little slut!" Like, and starts, like, berating her. And then he, this is when we see...
Starts freaking out, and she freaks the fuck out.
Yeah, and he's kind of, like, attacking her. He bites her on the arm. It's
Yeah.
like, ew!
He
nasty.
bites a lot in this movie.
And the Chucky animatronic is so good. Like,
Yes.
this is, I think, the first time that we really see it.
Yeah.
And, like, the facial expressions that he can make and, like, the way his arms move. Yeah. It's a really cool animatronic. I'm so glad that they went with it over, like, a puppet, maybe. Or the fact that it clearly has an animatronic, like, aspect to it just makes it all that more impressive to me and makes it more convincing. And she kind of throws him away, and he runs out of the apartment and into the elevator.
And he takes it down.
And Karen goes, and she finds handsome Squidward. And she tells him about Chucky. And of course he doesn't believe her, so she has to use, like, reverse psychology so that, like, she can get his ass to follow him down to that alleyway where she bought the doll from the peddler guy.
Yes.
And she is looking for the guy, and she finds him, and he starts to actually, like, take advantage of her.
Yeah,
like,
she's like, "Well, I need to know where you got the doll," and he was like, "I'll tell you if you, like, pay," and she's like, only has, like, $2 on her. She's like, "Dude, this is all I have."
Yeah.
And he then, like, tries to, like, assault her.
Yeah, it gets really gross.
And then that's when he steps in.
Yeah, and then
Handsome
Squidward appears and starts, like, and he has his badge, and they're all like, "Oh shit, he's a cop," and gets them to, like, run away.
And then he basically gets the guy to, like, tell them where they got the doll. And he says, "I got it from a burnt down toy store on the south side. The west side or something. I don't know."
And the guy leaves, and
that freaks him out, and Karen can tell that, like, something the cop said, or that the homeless guy said was, like, freaked her out.
Yeah, exactly.
Freaked him out.
Freaked out. Handsome Squidward.
Yes.
Yeah, and Squidward informs Karen about the showdown he had in the toy store with Charles Lee Ray. And we learn that this is where he's the Long Island Strangler. That's his, alias. And she tries to get him to drive her to Charles Lee Ray's house so they can try to stop Chucky. But he just refuses to believe her, and he forces her to go home, and then he drives back to the police station to get Charles Lee Ray's file. And this is a great scene, too. This is, like, one of my faves.
Yes.
He gets in the car, and he starts driving.
And who's in the back of the car?
Chucky! Kind of sticks we see his little head sticking out. And he starts strangling handsome Squidward with jumper cables. And Squidward is just swerving all around, and he manages to use the cigarette lighter
and, like, burns Chucky on the face.
Mm-hmm. And then Chucky retreats down into like behind the front seat and gets a knife and starts trying to stab him in the balls, bitch.
Yeah, well, first in the back.
Uh-huh.
And he's like avoiding it, and then he gets underneath the seat and starts trying to stab him like up the booty hole or in the balls.
Up in his
It's
groin.
like, ah, oh my
and
God.
so it's like a very tense scene, and this is a great like action sequence.
And then like the brakes are broken or something. Or no, he tries to hit the brakes, but then Chucky puts his hand like on the gas and then just flooring it.
And anyway, the car ends up flipping over. And Chucky, being like a little shorty, is able to climb out of the wreckage. But Squidward is stuck under the flipped car. And this is a like cool, like suspenseful scene too of Chucky kind of running around the car and trying to like kind of juke him out.
Yeah, and stab him. And again, he's just shooting gunshot after gunshot at Chucky when he should only have
Infinite
6 bullets.
ammo cheat.
Infinite ammo cheat activated. Like, does not care.
But he ends up getting a shot on Chucky. And, at first when Chucky was like running around, he's like, oh, you can't hurt me, Mike. Da-da-da-da-da. Mikey, you can't hurt me. Because Chucky thinks that he's invincible in this doll's body. But Squidward shoots him.
In the chest.
Yeah. And it kind of actually takes Chucky out. And he's like, oh, fuck. Like, I can get wounded. And this causes Chucky to run away. Meanwhile, Karen has traveled to Charles's house, where she sees that there is like a mural on the wall.
It's creepy.
It's dark-sided.
Some like ritualistic shit going on, and there's like this basically like a voodoo king or like a priest,
witch doctor or whatever.
Witch doctor kind of like painted on the wall.
And Squidward comes in from behind her, which kind of jump scares her. But it's funny because he goes, Karen. Again, giving me nothing. But like it's
like, I'm here.
Scares her, yeah.
And I believe you.
She's like, oh! And he explains that he encountered Chucky and that he actually believes her now.
Yes.
And he says we need to find that like witch doctor guy in the mural because he helped Charles become Chucky.
They hung out a lot, basically. So they might have some connection. Because then we get to...
We see the witch doctor in his apartment. His name is John. John the witch doctor. He just has a normal ass name. And he is just shook to see Chucky, who greets him in the window, comes to the window. It
scares him. And he's like, hey, I got this body. You helped me conquer death. I'm hurt.
Yep.
And you told me that wouldn't happen.
He's like, what the fuck? And John's like, it's because you're becoming human. The more time you spend in that body, the more human you'll become.
And he's like, shit.
Yeah, it pisses Chucky the fuck off. And he's like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to leave this doll's body? And John's like, I'm not telling you that because you are an abomination.
Which, okay, it's a little...
Yeah. Way harsh, Ty.
Yeah, really harsh word to use, John. Damn.
He says, you perverted everything I taught you and you used it for evil. You must be stopped. But then Chucky reveals that he found John's voodoo doll. Which I'm like, why does John have a voodoo doll of himself? But pop off, I guess.
And he's like, you shouldn't tell people where you hide stuff, John.
And he starts using the voodoo doll to torture John.
He breaks John's leg. And then he's like, you gotta tell me. And he's like, okay. You have to kill...
No, you have to transfer your
soul to the person who you first told that you're...
Like your identity to, or whatever.
Your identity to. And he's like...
Which is... Andy. Yeah.
Oh,
and then Chucky gives a suspicious line where he says, I have a date with a 6-year-old boy, which I was like,
and then he stabs John's voodoo doll in the
heart. Yeah. And it looks like John is dead, but he hangs in there long enough for Chucky to leave. Karen comes with Squidward. And he's still alive, but he's barely breathing. And in his dying words, he tells Karen about Chucky's plan to take over Andy's body. And he says there's one way to kill him.
The heart.
The heart. The heart is almost human. It must be the heart. And then he dies dramatically.
He sells it.
And so he tells him very plainly in that scene that you have to kill Chucky by shooting him or stabbing him in the heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He tells them that. Do they listen?
No.
No, and we will get there. But
They do everything but that.
but I just thought it was funny to remind us all how you're supposed to kill Chucky, okay? Because the characters clearly forgot. And at the facility where Andy has been staying, he's looking out the window.
And because he was like banging. And he sees somebody running up the stairs.
And who is
up
it?
the like side of the building, like the fire escape stairs. And it's fucking Chucky.
It's little shorty Chucky coming up the stairs.
And this is like where it's clearly like a person, like a child maybe, or like a little person.
Like a little mascot outfit on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're just, and it's kind of creepy
Oh,
looking.
I think it's kind of almost scarier sometimes when you see that it's like a mascot kind of guy. It's like, ooh, because it does look more... the animatronic and the mascot guy blend in really smoothly in like your brain when you watch it.
It's just like, oh, that's so weird looking.
It works. Andy starts freaking the fuck out trying to get that doctor guy's attention.
And he's like, he's trying to kill me. He's gonna come kill me.
And this poor kid really sells...
Yeah.
The actor really sells the, like, I'm terrified.
Yeah.
It's so... Like, it's really great child acting. His name was Alex Vincent, the guy who plays Andy. He's just, great in this movie. And the doctors, of course, refuse to listen to Andy. And he can just do nothing but wait helplessly for Chucky, pretty much. And Chucky, we see, a montage of him stealing the keys from a security guard. And then he goes into Andy's room, where he sees Andy sleeping under the covers of the bed. And Chucky goes to stab him, but...
It's just a pillow.
It's a pillow.
And Andy knew what to do. He grabbed the keys, and he ran out that door.
Yeah, it was smart, yeah.
And Chucky, like, saw him, and Chucky climbs out the window, and the doctor then sees him, like, Andy running, and he's like, shit, get back here.
Yeah, they start chasing Andy, and Andy hides from them in this empty, like, operating room.
Yeah, it's like an operating room.
And then Chumpy.
Not
Chumpy.
Not
Chumpy.
Then Chumpy.
Then Chucky jump scares Andy, jumping down on him and rolling away. Andy arms himself with a scalpel, but the doctors come in and see Andy standing there with the scalpel.
Yeah.
And they kind of he grabs Andy.
And then he's like gonna give him a shot, probably to like sedate him, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely a sedative. Andy's like flailing around, trying to prevent the guy from...
Like, he's like, no, he's still in here, he's gonna kill you too.
He like grabs the guy's like glasses off, like really trying to like, be heard.
Yes.
And we see
Chucky comes and stabs him like in the back of the knee.
And it's
so
gets some good gore.
He
There's a
falls.
lot of blood here.
And then Chucky puts an electrocution, like a shock.
Like a shock therapy, electrotherapy headband or something on his head to shock him to death.
And he just turns it up all the way and just fries this man. And I'm like, why didn't the dude just take it off?
Well, I don't know, and like also the effects here were not great. Like
No.
I think a lot of the other effects have aged well, but not this one.
No, that's to watch. I was like,
you can tell they put like some black eyeshadow all over his face and put like a little blood underneath his eyes and underneath his mouth.
And it was like, okay.
Yeah, but I will say that Andy's actor really sells his like trauma witnessing this during the scene. He's like, stop, no, stop, and it's like, scary. And then we see that Andy managed to escape, and he made it back to his apartment, and he's preparing for Chucky to arrive. We see, and this is my favorite scene in the movie, point blank, period. We're in the elevator, and there's this elderly couple going up, and they realize that there's the Chucky doll, like, laying there in the corner of the elevator.
Yeah.
And the old lady's like, oh, someone left their doll. What should we do, honey? And the old man's like, we'll just leave it there. Someone will come back for it, this and that. And as they leave, the, like, lady looks back, and she takes, like, one last, like, double take back at the doll, and she's like, ugly doll. And as soon as they leave, the elevator starts going up with Chucky in it, and he just goes,
Fuck you.
It's great. Like, I think it's the first instance of kind of humor, that kind of quip of Chucky.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite part of the movie. It's so well done.
It's very well done.
It's such a great, like, fuck you. Yeah. And Andy goes to hide in the closet, and he arms himself with, like, one of those little mini bat things.
It's a baseball bat.
Baseball bat, but it's, like, little, for, like, kids, right? It's like a miniature one. And
I don't know, it was hard, though.
yeah, it was, like, definitely a wooden one, for sure. And this is where we see Chucky. So, okay, we were talking
He
about
goes
like
up the
what maybe
elevator.
happened, right?
Because then all of a sudden,
He
Chucky comes down the chimney.
fireplace. Did he like? I was thinking like maybe he took the stairs up to the like fire escape to go up there.
The elevator.
And get,
to
but then
go
how do
to
you
the
know
top.
like how do you know what chimney to come down? Like is
There's
he
so
Santa
many-
Claus or
There's so many questions I had. Like, okay, we'll just
Whatever,
We'll
yeah.
go with it. We'll go with it. Whatever.
Chucky jumps out and scares Andy, and Andy has the bat and he tries to swing on Chucky but misses, and he drops the bat and Chucky starts pursuing him throughout the apartment. Then Chucky does like get the upper hand. He appears behind Andy and knocks Andy out with the bat.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh damn, it's getting real, you know.
And then he starts to perform the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And now Karen and
Squidward
are running up, and they're trying to get there to the apartment, and you're kind of like, oh my god, is it going to happen? The storm starts forming.
That cartoony storm.
And
And I noted the horrible green screen of the building in front of the storm.
It was so bad.
It reminded me of Ghostbusters. You know? That animation. And they get there just in the nick of time, and Karen manages to pull Chucky off, and he bites her on the neck. Then Squidward grabs him and throws him off of her. Then Chucky grabs the knife and slices Squidward on the leg. And then Chucky runs away, and we see that Andy's okay. He made it out.
Yeah.
Squidward goes to find Chucky, and Chucky jump scares him and takes him out with the bat.
Yep.
And he's about to bash his head in, but Karen appears and shoots Chucky in the leg with the gun.
Yeah.
But the gun gets jammed. And Chucky's like,
jam gun.
Quippy one-liner. And she manages to trap him in the fireplace. She, like, uses the fire grate to, like, kind of...
It's the cage. It's just the cage, the fireplace cage.
Yeah, she uses that to trap him in there. And she's using her... Just like, leaning against it to, like, keep him trapped in there with her back. And she is trying to reach these matches so she can ignite a fire. And she gets Andy to help her get the matches. And they turn the like fire thing on, and Andy has the match, and he's about to drop it in there, and Chucky like switches up, and he's like, please Andy, remember, I'm your friend to the end. And Andy gives a great comeback. He's
goes,
like,
this is the end, friend. And throws the match, and Chucky just gets set ablaze.
Yes.
He goes up really quick too.
Oh yeah, instantly.
I was like, damn.
Yeah. And then kind of watches Chucky runs around and just fries, and he ends up laying there charred like a crispy little critter on the ground.
And they're like, okay.
All right. And they go into the bedroom to help.
Seems like Chucky's
Squidward.
dead.
Yeah, she's like, Chucky died. And Andy, she's like, Andy, go grab the first aid kit. And Andy goes to grab it, and he sees...
Chucky's gone.
Yeah. There's just some, like, a little bit of fire still and some, like, charred, like, remains laying there on the ground where he was. And Andy goes to tell Karen that Chucky's, disappeared. And Chucky trips Andy. He comes right out, and, like, we see that he's very much alive, even though he's just, burnt to a crisp.
Oh, he is ugly. You thought he was ugly before?
Yeah.
Ooh, he's ugly.
He's all,
now.
like, congealed and, like, I don't know, just nasty black melted plastic everywhere. And we get this great chase scene where Chucky is trying to... So in the bedroom, there's a bathroom that connects out to the hallway. And then there's another door leading out to the hallway, if that makes sense. And so there's this scene...
where she closes the one that just leads to the hallway from the bedroom.
And he's trying to get in, but she's using her body weight to keep him out.
And then he tries to go...
to the one in the bathroom.
And so she has to close that one. And now he has a knife. And he stabs it through, cutting
cuts
Karen's
into her hand, yeah.
And then he starts trying to stab her in the face. And she just keeps screaming. And at that point, I was like, well, girl,
you need
just
to move
get
away
your
from the
face
door.
away from the door. What are you doing?
I thought that too. Then he chases them back out into the hallway where Karen finds the gun again. And thankfully, it is not jammed anymore.
Yes.
Because she shoots Chucky's fucking head off. And his
And then-
headless body comes back to life and starts, like, pursuing them some more.
Yes.
And then she shoots his arm off. And then she shoots his
leg
off.
So then he has, like, his right leg and his, like, left arm left at this point.
And, like, kind of a torso.
And he's still, like, kind of crawling towards them. And
them.
so she just shoots it in the back a few times.
Until the bullets basically run out.
Yeah.
Finally.
Finally.
This
Now
is the one scene of the movie where we don't have the infinite ammo sheet on. Then they go to check on Squidward. Oh, Squidward's partner appears. The mustache guy appears.
Yes.
And even though Squidward tells him not to, like, touch any of the evidence, he goes in and he takes the disembodied head of Chucky, which is all, like, gloopy and, like, gloppy, and brings it in there. And they're like, what the fuck? We told you not to touch any of the evidence. And he's like, this isn't alive.
There's no way that this thing is killing people.
Uh-huh. And then...
all of a sudden, there's, like, a air vent, like, right next to him.
Yeah.
And it pops open, and the charred body, the remains, come out and start, like, strangling him.
Which, how the fuck did that thing get up in the vent that quickly? Like, what the fuck?
And how is it moving?
Yeah, like, literally. Like, I'm so confused. But this is when Karen finally remembers, at the very last second, Karen, what
The heart!
what John
You have to
said.
shoot in the heart!
The heart! And
so
he shoots...
handsome Squidward
Uh-huh.
saves the day, finally. Because
He
a woman
shoots.
can't do it, I guess.
Oh, not in the 80s, I
And
guess.
shoots it in the heart, and then blood splatters on the nice curtains that were behind him. And so...
Yeah.
But you know what? Some vinegar or hydrogen peroxide will get that out for you. So, yeah, Chucky died.
Yeah.
And then...
he lets out one final, like, hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play? And yeah, and that's it. And Squidward turns to the mustache guy and says, well, do you believe me now? And mustache guy goes, yeah, but who's gonna believe me? And it's like, that's a good ass point.
Well, what do they have to worry about at this point?
Yeah, I guess. And then they leave to, like, go to the hospital, I guess. But Andy kind of stays back, and he looks behind him, lingering on the mutilated Chucky body. And he's definitely not certain that that body is 100% dead. But then the camera freeze frames, and we get our end credits. And that is Child's Play.
Fun movie. Very fun one.
Yeah, very fun.
Just vibes. Nothing to learn.
It's a classic. Great sequences of tension. And, yeah, some great humor in there. Totally understand why it, like, you know, sparked a huge franchise. And,
Yes.
and made Chucky, like, a very prominent figure in the horror world.
Yes.
What are we going to do next week, girl?
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out. We have some ideas.
Oh, Ma? Do we want to do Ma?
Or Night Swim.
Oh, Night Swim. Yes, we can go see Night Swim. If we see Night Swim.
Yeah.
We have to try and go see it.
I think we should. I heard it's
Bad. Just bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So stay tuned for that.
All right.
And I guess for now, that has been the Let's Scream podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today on Let's Scream. We hope you had a fun time with us at the toy store. What was it called?
Playland Toys.
Toy Store with Chucky.
Please remember to follow the pod, like the pod, and leave a glowing review for the pod, of course.
Yes, and you can also send us movie requests for future episodes. And we will be making a Instagram for the pod very soon.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that, and we will get the handle for that on here soon. But you can, in the meantime, follow me on Instagram at Parker_Will_C. And you can also stream my music. Check out my discography on all the streaming platforms. I'm Parker Will C on there.
And you can follow me at Stevie Nash 95 on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, until next time, this has been
Let's Scream.
Bye.
Bye.